The crown prince was never supposed to die, but on that night, even the future bent to betrayal. Lucien Vale stood in the throne hall, his sword broken, his empire burning, and his allies already dead. Then, something impossible happened. His vision shattered, and time itself broke apart. I came back to the beginning. But I remember everything. The betrayal, the wars, and the one who killed me. This time, I will not follow the future. I will rewrite it. For a moment he expected pain. The pain of a sword through his chest. The pain of watching his empire burn. But there was nothing. Only silence. Warm sunlight entered through the window, and birds sang outside. Everything felt peaceful. Slowly Lucien sat up, and his heart began to pound. The memories were still there. The betrayal. The war. His death. Every detail remained clear inside his mind. Lucien turned toward the mirror. His reflection stared back at him. Black hair. Golden eyes. A 12-year-old face. He touched the mirror and felt his hand tremble. This was real. He had truly returned to the past. A knock came from the door. Before he could answer, it opened, and a young maid entered carrying breakfast. Lucien froze. He knew her. Her name was Anna. In the future, she would die protecting him. Yet now she stood before him, alive, healthy, and smiling. Young master. Anna looked confused by his expression. Lucien forced a smile. Thank you. Anna blinked in surprise. For what, your highness? Lucien shook his head. Nothing. The maid left the room, still looking confused. Lucien remained silent. The future had changed. Everyone who had died was alive again. This time things would be different. Later that morning, Lucien entered the royal dining hall. At the center sat the emperor. His father, alive. Beside him sat the empress. His mother, smiling warmly. Across the table sat his older brother, laughing without a care in the world. For a moment Lucien simply watched them. In his previous life, he had lost them all. But now they were here. Safe. Unaware of the tragedy waiting in the future. Lucien. His mother's voice pulled him back. You seem distracted today. Lucien smiled faintly. I'm fine. It was a lie. How could he tell them? He had already watched them die once before. After breakfast, Lucien left the hall. According to his memories, today should have been ordinary. Nothing important was supposed to happen. But something felt wrong. As he walked through the palace gardens, he suddenly stopped. A royal guard stood beneath a pavilion, speaking quietly with a nobleman. Lucien narrowed his eyes. That meeting should not exist. Not today. Not for another 3 years. Quickly he stepped behind a marble pillar and listened. Most of the conversation was lost in the wind. Then he heard a single sentence. The preparations have already begun. Lucien's heart skipped a beat. Preparations for what? The rebellion. The conspiracy. The war. Then the nobleman suddenly stopped speaking. A strange smile appeared on his face. Slowly he turned toward Lucien's hiding place. Their eyes met. For a brief moment neither moved. Then the nobleman's smile widened. As if he had known Lucien was there all along. And in that moment Lucien realized something terrifying. The future was changing far sooner than he remembered. Lucien's breath caught in his throat. The nobleman's eyes were locked onto him. Impossible. He should not have been seen. The distance was too great. The pillar should have concealed him completely. Yet the nobleman's gaze never wavered. Then the man smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a mocking smile. A knowing smile. As though he had been waiting for this exact moment. Lucien felt a chill run down his spine. Slowly the nobleman raised a gloved hand. And gave a polite bow. The gesture lasted only a second. Yet it felt deliberate. Personal. As if the bow had been meant for Lucien alone. The royal guard looked confused. Clearly he had noticed nothing unusual. After a brief exchange of words, the nobleman turned away. The guard followed. Together they disappeared beyond the garden path. Only after they vanished did Lucien finally move. His heart was racing. That should not have happened. Nothing about that encounter made sense. Who was that man? And why did it feel as though he knew something he shouldn't? For several minutes Lucien remained in the garden, thinking, replaying every detail in his mind. Then a memory surfaced. The man's face. He had seen it before. Not in childhood. Not recently. But years in the future. Lord Cashinvos. A minor, noble who rarely appeared in court. A man so insignificant that Lucien had barely remembered his name. Yet now that same man seemed far more dangerous than he should have been. Lucien narrowed his eyes. No, dangerous wasn't the right word. Prepared. That was the word. Cashin looked prepared. As though he had arrived years ahead of schedule. The thought disturbed him. Because only one person should possess knowledge of the future. Lucien himself. As evening arrived, he returned to his room. The palace felt peaceful. Servants moved through the halls. Knights stood guard. Everything appeared normal. Yet Lucien knew better. Somewhere in the shadows. Pieces were already moving. And for the first time since his return, Lucien understood something important. Simply knowing the future would not be enough. Because the future was already changing. The next morning Lucien woke before sunrise. Sleep had been impossible. Every time he closed his eyes he saw the future. The war. The betrayal. The empire burning. Stepping onto the balcony, he sat down and closed his eyes. In his previous life, he had spent years learning mana control. Now he remembered every lesson. Every mistake. Every technique. Slowly he focused. A faint warmth appeared inside his chest. Mana. Tiny streams of energy began moving through his body. Lucien smiled. It worked. His body was 12 years old. But his knowledge remained. For the first time since returning, he felt hope. Hours passed. Sweat formed on his forehead. Controlling mana with a child's body was difficult. Yet he continued. Suddenly footsteps approached. Lucien opened his eyes. His older brother stood there, looking confused. Lucien, what are you doing awake this early? Training. His brother laughed. Training? Since when? Since today? The older prince sat beside him. After a moment his smile faded. You've changed. Lucien's heart skipped a beat. Changed. His brother nodded. You seem older somehow. Like you're carrying a burden. Before Lucien could answer, a messenger rushed onto the balcony. Your Highness, an urgent report has arrived. The older prince stood immediately. What happened? The messenger swallowed nervously. A merchant caravan was attacked near the eastern road. Lucien froze. His eyes widened. The attack. It happened. But according to his memories, it shouldn't have happened for another 3 days. As realization struck him, a terrifying thought entered his mind. The future wasn't changing. It was accelerating. The older prince quickly took the report. How many survivors? A few merchants escaped. The attackers fled before reinforcements arrived. Lucien's expression darkened. He remembered this incident. Everyone believed it was a simple bandit attack. But years later the truth was uncovered. The caravan had been carrying secret documents. Documents connected to the conspiracy that would eventually destroy the empire. If those documents disappeared, the future would become even harder to change. Lucien stood up immediately. His sudden movement surprised everyone. Brother, I want to go with you. The older prince blinked. Go where? To the attack site. The prince laughed. Absolutely not. You're 12. Lucien expected that answer. In his previous life, he probably would have accepted it. But not this time. Then let me ask you one question. The older prince raised an eyebrow. What is it? If this was only a bandit attack, why did the attackers leave before taking the cargo? The balcony fell silent. The messenger looked confused. The older prince frowned. Lucien continued. And why attack a single caravan traveling under imperial protection? The prince's expression slowly changed. For the first time, he was considering the possibility that something larger was happening. Several minutes later, the brothers stood before the palace gates. The older prince sighed. If father asks, this was your idea. Lucien smiled. Fair enough. A small escort accompanied them as they departed. As the palace disappeared behind them, Lucien looked toward the distant eastern road. This was the first event he had failed to prevent. But perhaps, it wasn't too late to understand it. Far away, hidden among the trees, a masked figure watched their departure, then vanished into the forest, as though carrying news to someone waiting in the shadows. The smell of smoke lingered in the air. As Lucien stepped from the carriage, the destruction came into view. Broken wagons, scattered cargo, dead horses. The attack had ended hours ago, yet the scene still felt wrong. The older prince examined the area. The escort knights searched for clues. Most believed they were investigating a bandit attack. Lucien knew better. Slowly he walked through the wreckage, studying every detail, every footprint, every broken crate. Then he stopped. A small wooden chest lay beside an overturned wagon. Its lock had been broken, but nothing inside had been taken. Lucien frowned. Bandits always stole valuables. Always. Yet silver coins remained untouched. Jewelry remained untouched. Even expensive fabrics had been left behind. This was never about money. Someone had been searching for something. Suddenly Lucien noticed a trail. Tiny scraps of paper caught beneath a wagon wheel. He carefully picked them up. The pieces were burned, but not completely destroyed. A map. His eyes widened. The fragments belonged to a map. Brother. The older prince approached immediately. What is it? Lucien handed him the pieces. The prince studied them. His expression slowly darkened. This isn't a merchant route. Lucien nodded. It was military. Someone had hidden military information inside the caravan, and someone else knew it was there. For several seconds neither spoke. Then a knight rushed toward them. Your Highness, we found tracks. The attackers headed north. Lucien's heart skipped a beat. North. According to his memories, nothing important should be north. But the future was already changing, which meant those tracks could lead somewhere unexpected. The older prince looked toward the forest, then toward Lucien. A dangerous look appeared in his eyes. We're following them. Several knights immediately protested. The prince ignored them. Lucien stared at the dark forest ahead. Whatever waited there, it was connected to the conspiracy, and for the first time, they were close enough to touch it. Deep within the northern forest, a masked figure knelt before an unknown man. The royal princes have arrived. The man remained silent. After several moments, a faint smile appeared beneath the darkness. Excellent. The trap is ready. The northern forest was silent. Too silent. Lucien walked beside his older brother as the knights followed the tracks deeper into the woods. The further they traveled, the more uneasy he became. Something felt wrong. The attackers had left tracks. Clear tracks. Almost as if they wanted to be followed. After nearly an hour, the group reached a hidden camp. Several tents stood between the trees. An extinguished campfire rested in the center. But there was no one there. Not a single person. The older prince frowned. They left recently. A knight nodded. The fire is still warm. The others began searching the camp. Lucien remained still, studying the surroundings. Then he noticed something. The camp was too clean. No food. No personal belongings. No signs of a hurried escape. It looked abandoned. But not naturally. Deliberately. Suddenly Lucien's eyes widened. This wasn't a hideout. It was bait. Brother. Wait. The older prince turned. Before Lucien could explain, a sharp whistle echoed through the forest. The next second, an arrow shot from the trees. A knight barely managed to raise his shield. More whistles followed. Then dozens of arrows descended from above. Ambush. The forest erupted into chaos. Knights rushed to protect the princes. Horses panicked. Arrows struck trees and armor from every direction. The older prince immediately stepped in front of Lucien. Stay behind me. Lucien clenched his fists. This was happening too fast. The ambush had never occurred in his previous life. Another change. Another piece of the future breaking apart. Suddenly movement appeared among the trees. Masked figures emerged from the shadows. 1, then 3, then 10. Each carried weapons. Each moved with purpose. They weren't bandits. They were trained. The knights formed a defensive circle. The older prince drew his sword. For the first time, Lucien felt a faint warmth spreading through his body. Mana. Golden particles appeared around him. Weak. Barely visible. But real. His eyes widened. His mana had responded to danger. The enemies stopped several meters away. Neither side moved. The forest became silent once more. Then one masked man stepped forward. The masked man's sword pointed directly at Lucien. The target had always been him. The enemy leader gave the order, and the battle began. While knights clashed around him, Lucien noticed a hidden assassin above. The assassin leapt from the trees. Dagger aimed for his heart. Instinct took over. Golden mana erupted from Lucien's body. The assassin was thrown back, and the battlefield fell silent. Moments later, the enemy retreated into the forest. While searching the abandoned camp, Lucien discovered a strange black insignia, a crown beneath a crescent moon. Neither his brother nor the knights recognized it. As the group returned to the capital, news of Lucien's awakening reached Lord Cashin Voss. A faint smile appeared on his face. The game had begun. Back in the capital, the emperor listened to the report of the caravan attack and forest ambush. An investigation was ordered immediately. That night, Lucien examined the insignia alone. Without warning, it began to glow. Ancient symbols appeared across its surface. The moment he touched it, a memory flashed through his mind. A battlefield covered in corpses. Black banners flying beneath a dark sky, each bearing the same symbol. Lucien finally remembered. The Shadow Crown. A secret organization that should not exist for years. Yet somehow they were already moving. Far beneath the empire, a masked figure sat upon a stone throne. An identical insignia rested beside him. A messenger knelt before the throne. The prince has awakened. The masked figure slowly opened his eyes. Find the prince. As the order echoed through the darkness, Lucien realized a terrifying truth. He was no longer searching for the enemy. The enemy was searching for him. The next morning, Lucien returned to the Imperial Archives, determined to uncover the truth behind the Shadow Crown. After hours of searching, he discovered several records had been deliberately removed from the archives. Someone had erased them. Digging deeper, he found a damaged report from 30 years ago, bearing the same crown beneath a crescent moon symbol. The Shadow Crown existed long before history claimed. Adrian arrived. He quickly realized the discovery should have been impossible. Together they searched the archive registry and traced the missing records to an imperial archivist. But when they tried to find him, the old man had vanished without a trace. His office stood abandoned, as if someone had removed him overnight. Hidden beneath a desk, Lucien discovered a secret note containing the same symbol and a chilling message. The truth was buried by order of the throne. The revelation changed everything. This was no longer the work of a hidden organization alone. Someone inside the empire had protected them. The following morning, Lucien began making a list of those powerful enough to alter imperial records. Dukes, ministers, and high-ranking officials all became suspects. One by one, he crossed names off until a single entry caught his attention. The name connected to the erased records was someone who should never have been involved. As Lucien and Adrian stared at the document, they realized the conspiracy reached far higher than either of them had imagined. The name in the records belonged to Duke Alaric Thornvale, one of the empire's most powerful nobles. The discovery raised more questions than answers. As Lucien investigated further, a pattern emerged. Several incidents connected to the Shadow Crown had occurred near the Duke's territory. By afternoon, Lucien and Adrian followed their first lead, a private gathering at the Duke's estate. From a distance, they watched nobles arrive. Then Lucien noticed something unusual, a cloaked figure entering through a hidden side entrance. Not the main gate, a secret entrance. Lucien followed the movement with his eyes. Then he saw it. A door left slightly open. Beyond it, a symbol carved into the wall. A crown beneath a crescent moon. The Shadow Crown had infiltrated the empire's nobility, and Lucien had just found proof. The symbol inside Duke Alaric's estate raised more questions than answers. Suspicion alone was not enough. They needed proof. Using his authority as crown prince, Adrian quietly deployed trusted intelligence agents. For days, the spies monitored the Duke's estate. Visitors were tracked, meetings were recorded, and every movement was carefully documented. Then the first reports arrived. Several influential nobles had been gathering in secret. More importantly, the spies discovered a hidden chamber beneath the estate, a place absent from every official record. As Lucien studied the reports, a troubling pattern emerged. The same names kept appearing, the same symbols, the same hidden connections. Then one final report caught his attention. Among the visitors was a name he recognized from his previous life, a name that should not have appeared this early. Lucien's expression darkened. The conspiracy was far larger than he had imagined, and they had only uncovered the first layer. The new evidence seemed convincing. A minor noble appeared connected to the Shadow Crown, but something felt wrong. The reports were too perfect, the clues too convenient. As Lucien reviewed the documents, he found several inconsistencies. Someone was guiding the investigation, not toward the truth, but away from it. The Shadow Crown had planted a false trail. When Lucien shared his concerns, Adrian immediately halted further action. Acting on false information would only help the enemy. Then another report arrived. One of their intelligence agents had disappeared. Only a single message remained. "We have been discovered." For the first time, Lucien realized the Shadow Crown knew they were being hunted. And now, the enemy was fighting back. Months passed, and Lucien's 13th birthday finally arrived. The Imperial Palace was more lively than it had been in years. Nobles from across the Empire gathered to celebrate the occasion. At the center of the celebration stood the Imperial family: the Emperor, the Empress, Crown Prince Adrian, and Prince Lucien. The Emperor personally congratulated his youngest son, while the Empress fussed over every detail of the celebration. For a brief moment, the palace felt peaceful, almost normal. Yet beneath the music and laughter, political games continued as always. Among the guests stood Duke Alaric Thornvale and Lord Cashinvoss. While others enjoyed the festivities, Lucien spent much of the evening observing, watching conversations, remembering faces, searching for connections. As the celebration drew to a close, Cashin approached him on a quiet palace balcony. Without explanation, he handed Lucien an old silver coin, a relic from a forgotten rebellion. Before leaving, Cashin spoke only a few words. "Some truths are hidden because they are dangerous. Others are buried because someone fears them." Then he disappeared into the crowd. Later that night, Lucien examined the coin in his study. The symbol engraved upon it matched marks he had already seen in the archives. The rebellion, the missing records, the Shadow Crown, they were all connected. As moonlight poured through the window, Lucien stared at the coin in silence. The mystery stretched far deeper into the Empire's past than he had imagined. 2 years passed in relative peace. He continued studying politics beneath the Emperor, refined his swordsmanship with the Imperial Knights, strengthened his mana through relentless training, and quietly prepared for the future only he remembered. Though no major conflict emerged, Lucien knew the calm would not last forever. At 15 years of age, the day he had been waiting for finally arrived. It was time to enter the Imperial Academy. Weeks passed after Lucien's 13th birthday. Soon, the day of his departure arrived. The Imperial Academy awaited, a place where the Empire's future knights, mages, scholars, and leaders would train together. As Lucien stepped through its gates, the Academy buzzed with excitement. Students from every corner of the Empire had gathered for a new beginning. His peaceful walk didn't last long. A loud shout echoed across the courtyard. A brown-haired boy sprinted past with several instructors chasing after him. The boy laughed as though being chased was perfectly normal. Lucien could only sigh. Not far away, beneath the shade of an ancient tree, a silver-haired girl calmly read a book, completely ignoring the commotion around her. High above the courtyard, another student watched the chaos from a rooftop with an amused smile. Lucien looked around the academy once more. In his previous life, these people had been little more than classmates. This time, they would become the companions who could change the Empire's future. With that thought, Lucien took his first step toward a new beginning. The academy bell echoed. Across the campus, new students quickly gathered in the central courtyard. Standing before them was the academy headmaster. His sharp gaze swept across every student before he spoke. From this moment onward, titles hold no authority within these walls. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Here, you will earn respect through your actions, not your birth. Whether you are royalty, a noble, or a commoner, you are all simply students. The courtyard fell silent. Lucien couldn't help but smile. Perhaps this place really was different. The headmaster continued. Every student will undergo night training. Those gifted in magic may also attend the mage department. Those pursuing knowledge may specialize in the scholar department. No path is greater than another. As the orientation ended, the students dispersed across the academy. Before Lucien could take another step, someone suddenly threw an arm around his shoulder. "So, you're the quiet guy from this morning." Lucien turned. The same troublemaker stood beside him with a wide grin. "My name's Rowan. And yours?" For the first time, Lucien met the friend who had once given his life to protect him. The following morning, the first years gathered on the academy training grounds. Rows of wooden practice swords waited before them. The instructor stepped forward. "Welcome to Night Fundamentals." A murmur spread through the crowd. Even scholar and mage students were required to attend. Lyra Voss frowned at the wooden sword. What a waste of time. The instructor looked at her. "You, pick up the sword." With obvious reluctance, she obeyed. Rowan grinned. "This is going to be fun." Kale leaned toward Lucien. 5 minutes before she argues with him. Lucien sighed. "You're giving her too much credit." The instructor demonstrated the basic stance. The students copied him. Lucien performed it with ease. Rowan overflowed with enthusiasm. Kale remained effortlessly relaxed. Lyra's form was flawless, but her expression made it clear she'd rather be anywhere else. Rowan laughed. Lyra answered with a glare sharp enough to silence him. The first lesson had only just begun, and already, the academy was far more entertaining than Lucien remembered. The instructor surveyed the training grounds. "Pair up." Students quickly found their opponents. Before Lucien could move, Rowan stepped forward with a confident grin. "I've been waiting for this." "Begin." Without hesitation, Rowan rushed forward. His strikes were fast and relentless. Lucien met each attack calmly, blocking and sidestepping with precise movements. Nearby, Kale's sparring match ended almost instantly. His opponent barely had time to react before being disarmed. A few meters away, Lyra reluctantly faced her own opponent. She remembered every technique perfectly, but theory alone wasn't enough. After a few exchanges, she lost her footing. Rowan burst into laughter. Lyra slowly turned toward him, her emerald eyes cold. "Would you like to be next?" Rowan's smile froze. Watching the exchange, Lucien couldn't help but smile. Perhaps life at the Imperial Academy wouldn't be so dull after all. The following afternoon, Lucien attended his first practical lesson in the mage department. The instructor raised a hand. "Today, your task is simple. Control your mana." One after another, students attempted to gather mana into their hands. Some succeeded, others struggled. Rowan gave up after several attempts. "I'll stick to swinging a sword." A few students laughed. When Lucien's turn came, he calmly closed his eyes. Mana gathered smoothly around his hand. Stable, controlled, precise. The instructor's expression remained calm, but inwardly, he was surprised. Such control was rarely seen in a first-year student. Before anyone could notice, the instructor simply nodded. "Very good. Next." Lucien quietly returned to his place. Across the room, Kale watched him with quiet curiosity. For the first time, classes came to an end as the afternoon sun settled over the academy. Students slowly made their way toward the dining hall. Before Lucien could leave, Rowan caught up to him. "I knew you were holding back during our spar." Lucien glanced at him. "I could say the same about you." Rowan laughed. "Want another match tomorrow?" Lucien allowed himself a faint smile. "If our schedules allow it." As the two walked through the academy courtyard, they noticed a small crowd gathered ahead. A first-year student had been cornered by a few older students. Most simply walked past. Lucien stopped. Rowan noticed the change in his expression. Without a word, both of them stepped forward. Someone realized the quiet prince was hiding far more than he revealed. Lucien and Rowan stopped before the group of older students. The courtyard fell silent. One of the seniors stepped forward. "This doesn't concern first years." Lucien met his gaze without flinching, then stopped making it their concern. The senior scoffed. "And if we don't?" Before Lucien could answer, Rowan rested his wooden practice sword on his shoulder with a grin. "Then you'll have to deal with both of us." For a moment, neither side moved. The senior glanced around. Dozens of students had stopped to watch. With a click of his tongue, he stepped back. "This isn't worth the trouble." The older students walked away, leaving the frightened first year behind. The boy bowed repeatedly. Thank you." Lucien simply nodded. "Next time, report it to an instructor." As they continued toward the dining hall, Rowan laughed. "You really don't know how to ignore trouble, do you?" Lucien looked ahead with a faint smile. "Neither do you." For the first time, the two walked away not just as classmates, but as the beginning of true friends. A few days passed peacefully at the Imperial Academy. Life gradually settled into a familiar routine. Morning classes, afternoon training, evening study sessions. Before long, Lucien noticed something unexpected. Whenever he trained with Rowan, the same two students always seemed to be nearby. One was Kale. a talented swordsman who never backed away from a challenge. The other was Lyra, quiet, observant, always carrying a book wherever she went. During sword practice, the instructor called out, "Today's exercise will be fought in teams." Before Rowan could speak, the instructor pointed toward 4 students. Lucien, Rowan, Kale, Lyra, you'll be one team. The 4 exchanged uncertain glances. Rowan grinned. This should be fun. Kale folded his arms. As long as no one slows us down. Lyra sighed. I already regret this. Lucien simply nodded. Let's begin. Their first task seemed simple. Carry a supply crate across the obstacle course. Within moments, Rowan stepped into a muddy pit. The crate lurched sideways. Kale caught it just before it fell. Lyra covered her face. I expected nothing less. Rowan scratched his head awkwardly. That was intentional. For the first time, Lucien laughed. The others paused, then laughed with him. Their teamwork was far from perfect, but every great friendship has to begin somewhere. As autumn arrived, the Imperial Academy became busier than ever. The annual Harvest Festival was only days away. To prepare for the celebration, several first-year teams were assigned to assist the student council. Lucien's team was among them. As they entered the council chamber, every student immediately stood at attention. At the head of the room stood the student council president, Crown Prince Adrian Vale. Beside him stood the student council vice president, Aiden Ashford, Rowan's older brother. Rowan sighed. Great. Aiden smiled. Still causing trouble, little brother? Only when necessary, Rowan replied. A faint laugh spread through the room. Adrian's gaze then shifted toward Lucien. For a brief moment, the 2 brothers simply looked at each other. Prince Lucien. Lucien bowed respectfully. Brother. Adrian smiled. At the academy. I'm your student council president. Lucien immediately corrected himself. My apologies. President. The surrounding students exchanged surprised glances. Even Kale raised an eyebrow. So even princes follow academy rules. Lyra smiled softly. That's why everyone respects the student council. Adrian looked over the 4 students. The Harvest Festival represents the academy. Let's make sure it's one everyone remembers. None of them realized this simple assignment would become the beginning of memories they would cherish for years to come. The day of the Harvest Festival finally arrived. From sunrise, the Imperial Academy was filled with laughter. Colorful banners stretched across the courtyards. Music echoed through the grounds. Students and instructors alike set aside their duties to celebrate together. After completing their assignments, Lucien and his friends were finally free to enjoy the festival. Rowan immediately challenged Kale to a series of games, determined to win at least one. He somehow managed to lose every single match. Even Kale couldn't hide a small smile. Lyra folded her arms. I've never met anyone so confident in defeat. Rowan placed a hand over his heart. It's called persistence. The group laughed together. Watching them, Lucien found himself smiling without realizing it. For the first time, the academy no longer felt unfamiliar. It felt like home. As evening approached, hundreds of lanterns rose into the night sky. The 4 stood quietly beneath the glowing lights, each silently making a wish for the future. None of them knew that the peaceful days they treasured would one day be tested by fate itself. A week after the Harvest Festival, the Imperial Academy announced its first official field mission. Every first-year team would leave the academy and serve the Empire. Lucien, Rowan, Kale, and Lyra were assigned to investigate the disappearance of a merchant caravan near a nearby village. Escorted by an Imperial knight, the team departed at dawn. The journey remained quiet until Rowan suddenly stopped. The tracks end here. Ahead lay an overturned wagon, broken crates, scattered supplies, signs of a fierce struggle. Kale picked up a shattered sword. This wasn't an accident. Nearby, Lyra examined strange black symbols carved into a tree. I've never seen markings like these. Lucien scanned the forest. They're fresh. We're not alone. Following the trail, the team found a group of bandits holding the missing merchants captive. Lucien immediately took command. Rowan, with me. Kale, protect the civilians. Lyra, support us. Working as one, the 4 overwhelmed the bandits and rescued every merchant. Their first mission was a success. But while the Imperial Knights secured the area, Lucien noticed one bandit lying apart from the others. He hadn't been killed in the battle. Around his neck hung a black insignia, a crown beneath a crescent moon. Before Lucien could inspect it, the supervising knight quietly took it away. What was that? The knight paused, then answered, "Forget you ever saw it." As they returned to the academy, Lucien couldn't shake the feeling that they had uncovered something far more dangerous than a bandit attack. After their first mission, life at the Imperial Academy returned to normal. Classes resumed. Training continued. Laughter filled the academy once more. Yet, Lucien couldn't forget the black insignia, not because of the symbol itself, but because of the Imperial Knight's reaction. It was as though he feared it. Far away, an urgent report reached Duke Cassian Voss. Resting on his desk was the same black insignia, a crown beneath a crescent moon. Cassian's expression hardened. So, they've returned. Without delay, he entered the Emperor's private chamber. The Emperor studied the insignia in silence. After a long pause, he spoke. "It's been 15 years. I hoped they were gone." Cassian lowered his head. "No, Your Majesty. They were only waiting." The Emperor closed his hand around the insignia. "Increase security across the capital and protect the both princes." "As you command." Meanwhile, the academy remained peaceful. Lucien and his friends continued training, completely unaware that unseen eyes were already watching them. Deep beneath an abandoned cathedral, a masked man sat upon a black throne. Before him, several cloaked figures knelt in silence. He raised the black insignia and smiled. "The prince has noticed. The game begins now." Far above, the academy remained peaceful. The Shadow Crown had made its first move. Several days passed after the academy's first official mission, and life at the Imperial Academy quickly returned to normal. During morning training, Rowan suddenly tapped the back of Lucien's head with a wooden practice sword. "You've become too serious lately," he laughed. Kale grinned. "I think he forgot how to smile." Lucien calmly replied, "I do smile." Lyra shook her head. "No, you don't." Before the teasing could continue, their instructor appeared behind them. "Since everyone has so much energy." 50 laps. Rowan immediately pointed at Lucien. It was his fault. Lucien simply smiled. "I'll remember that." During lunch, Rowan secretly switched Kale's tea with an extremely sour herbal drink. The moment Kale took a sip, the cafeteria erupted with laughter as he chased Rowan between the tables. Watching the chaos unfold, Lucien couldn't help but smile. The following morning, every student gathered in the central courtyard before sunrise. As the academy gates slowly opened, a tall man dressed in elegant black and navy archmage robes walked inside. The headmaster stepped forward. "Allow me to introduce the Empire's Grand Mage, Master Iwan." Respectful applause echoed throughout the academy as Master Iwan greeted everyone with a gentle smile. Moments later, another figure entered through the gates. A neatly trimmed beard framed his face, and sharp emerald green eyes reflected years of wisdom and countless battles. The master of the Imperial Magic Tower, Lord Aldrich Vale. Even the academy instructors lowered their heads in respect. After the welcoming ceremony, Cedric welcomed his older brother inside the headmaster's office. "Welcome home, brother." Aldrich smiled warmly. "It's good to be back." Cassian quietly nodded. "The Empire has waited a long time for your return." Later that afternoon, Adrian found Lucien near the training grounds. "Come, there's someone I'd like you to meet." He led Lucien toward Aldrich before stopping with a smile. "Lucien, this is our uncle." Lucien respectfully bowed. "It is an honor to meet you, uncle." Aldrich looked into Lucien's bright golden eyes. For the briefest moment, his composure wavered before a gentle smile returned to his face. "It is good to finally meet you." Lucien smiled politely. Training officially began under the Empire's two greatest mages. Master Iwan guided the students through ancient magic with calm patience, explaining even the most difficult spells as though they were simple. Meanwhile, Aldrich's lessons were far less forgiving. "Magic without discipline is meaningless," he said. "Master your foundation before seeking greater power." Every mistake was corrected, and every student quickly realized there would be no shortcuts. A few days later, Rowan decided the academy had become far too serious. Before morning training, he secretly filled Kale's locker with illusion magic. The moment Kale opened it, dozens of tiny illusionary frogs leapt into the hallway. Rowan, Kale shouted as laughter echoed through the corridor. Rowan proudly folded his arms. Worth it. Unfortunately, Aldrich had witnessed the entire prank. 100 push-ups. Rowan's smile immediately disappeared. Maybe not worth it. Even Kale couldn't help laughing. As the sun began to set, Lucien remained alone on the training grounds, repeating the same sword form again and again. Aldrich quietly walked over, adjusted Lucien's grip, and corrected his stance. Don't fight the sword. Guide it. Lucien followed the advice. His next strike flowed far more naturally. He lowered his blade. Thank you, Uncle. Aldrich gave a small nod. Well done. With the arrival of the Empire's two greatest mages, life at the Imperial Academy settled into a new routine. Under Master Ewan's guidance, students deepened their understanding of ancient magic, while Aldrich pushed them beyond their limits through relentless practical training. Although his methods were strict, no one could deny the results. One afternoon, the headmaster gathered every student in the central courtyard. In 3 weeks, the Imperial Academy will celebrate the Festival of Stars. The announcement was met with cheers across the academy. The annual festival was more than a celebration. It was a tradition where students from every year competed in friendly contests, displayed their talents. Preparations began immediately. The academy transformed as students decorated the halls, raised banners, and argued over which class would win this year's competitions. Naturally, Rowan volunteered to help, which turned out to be everyone's first mistake. While hanging decorations, Rowan accidentally activated an illusion spell, covering the entire hallway in colorful magical paint. Kale stared at him in disbelief. You had one job. Rowan looked around the ruined hallway. It looked better in my head. Even Aldrich sighed. Clean it, all of it. As the festival approached, the training only became more intense. Aldrich paired students against opponents they normally avoided. Strength isn't built by defeating those weaker than you. It is forged by facing those who challenge you. Lucien was matched against several senior students. Though outnumbered, he relied on timing and technique instead of overwhelming power. Each victory earned quiet respect from those watching. After one match, Aldrich gave a simple nod. Better. It was only one word. Yet Lucien valued it more than applause. Master Ewan's lessons remained as calm as ever. Rather than teaching powerful spells, he often asked unusual questions. What is the purpose of strength? One student answered, to defeat your enemies. Another replied, to protect the Empire. Master Ewan smiled. And you, Lucien? Lucien thought for a moment. Strength has no value if there's no one worth protecting. For a brief moment, Master Ewan's smile froze. Then it quietly returned. An interesting answer. The Festival of Stars finally arrived. The academy was filled with music, food stalls, games, and magical performances. Students and nobles walked the grounds together, enjoying the celebration. Rowan immediately dragged the group toward the festival games. His confidence lasted exactly 1 minute. After losing 3 games in a row to Lyra, he dropped to his knees dramatically. I demand a rematch. You already had 3. Kale laughed so hard he nearly spilled his drink. Even Lucien found himself laughing openly. Watching from a distance, Adrian smiled. It suits him. It does, as the headmaster's announcement echoed across the arena. The Festival of Stars officially began. Students from every year stepped into the arena one after another, displaying the skills they had honed throughout the year. Friendly matches soon gave way to fierce competition as the strongest. Students advanced through each round. When Lucien's name was called, the arena fell quiet. His opponent was a respected third-year student known for his strength. The duel began with a series of rapid exchanges, but Lucien refused to meet strength with strength. Instead, he patiently waited for an opening. The moment it appeared, he stepped inside his opponent's guard and disarmed him with a single clean strike. For a brief moment, the arena was silent. Then applause erupted from every direction. Several nobles exchanged surprised glances. He's only 15. Remarkable. Aldrich quietly watched from the viewing platform, a faint smile hidden beneath his beard. Beside him, Master Ewan remained as calm as ever, his eyes never leaving Lucien. Following the tournament, the headmaster summoned Lucien, Rowan, Kale, and Lyra to his office, where several Imperial knights were already waiting. The Empire has requested your assistance. A royal delegation traveling near the northern border has suddenly gone silent. You will accompany the Imperial Knights, investigate the situation, and report your findings. Without hesitation, the four accepted. Before sunrise the next morning, they departed through the academy gates alongside the Imperial Knights. Rowan spent the journey complaining about the early departure while Kale reminded him that he had volunteered. Lyra quietly reviewed the mission documents, and Lucien carefully observed the road ahead. 2 days later, the convoy reached a narrow mountain pass. The road had been blocked by several fallen trees. One Imperial Knight frowned. This wasn't caused by nature. Lucien knelt beside one of the trunks. The cuts were clean, deliberate. He looked toward the forest. We're being watched.